comment from, I'm sure it's the same guy.
Okay.
Let's see, is Dean here?
I am here.
Oh, Dean, did you get your email from me and Shane regarding the law?
Yeah, Shane said we didn't need the approval.
Right, so Shelby sent that, but he answered the questions that Shelby had on her referral. Like, you know, it's of a local jurisdiction, but she did have a few comments. And so did the gentleman who sent the comment from the Duchess. So Shane has answered those things for you if you want to.
I didn't read it because I've been out all afternoon. So
Okay,
let me go back to, I just saw the one email from Shane.
basically it's at our discretion, so you can clean it up a little bit if you want to. But the board can decide how they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think we're in any rush. I mean, so if there's some major points that needs to be addressed, then, we can certainly hold it off, but
I would recommend that you pass it.
okay.
And if you can agree to the minimum acreage, if you want to change that, change it, and then we'll make those changes and send it to Albany. But, everything's discretionary, so it's up to you. It's fine the way it is.
All right. Everything's ready, Ray.
Okay,
Do you want me to let the public in?
yes,
Or let Ray get started? Let him in?
I'll let them in.
Okay. Here they come.
Everybody in? There's Eric.
Elliot's audio hasn't joined yet. Let's see. Yep. Everybody's in.
Okay. I'd like to call a public hearing on the proposed local law of 2021 conference centers being held on May 11th, 2021 via teleconferencing using Zoom with a YouTube live stream to the public. This is due to COVID-19 emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings and pursuant to Governor Cuomo's executive order 202.1 issued on March 12th, 2020, suspending the open meetings law. Okay, audience participation is allowed. That's why it's called a public hearing. Zoom codes were already published so people can get in. No pledge, no flag. We got to do a roll call to just verify we have a proper quorum. Supervisor Oberly here. Councilwoman Cunningham.
Here.
Councilman Giuliano.
Here.
Dean Michael.
Here.
Councilman Witten.
Here.
Town Clerk Mackin.
Here.
We do have a quorum. The town clerk will read the public notice.
Please take notice that the town of Clinton will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 via Zoom video conference, consistent with executive orders 202.1 and 202.15 as please take further notice due to public health concerns, in-person attendance will not be permitted. The public is invited to attend the public hearing held via Zoom video conference and comment on the proposed local law. Members of the public who wish to comment at the public hearing will be able to do so by joining the meeting via Zoom, electronically, or by telephone. The passcodes will be published by noon on May 10th, 2021, which will enable the public to participate. The codes can also be retrieved by emailing town clerk on May 10th, 2021 until 3 p.m. on May 11th, 2021. Comments for the public hearing can be submitted in advance of the public hearing by sending an email to the town clerk at town.clerk@townofclinton.com. The local law will take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Complete copies of the proposed local law are available at the town clerk's office and on the website for inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard on the said proposal at the date, time, and place aforesaid. All done.
Okay. At this time, I'll open the floor via Zoom for comments and turn the meeting over to Councilman Michael. If you have comments, please identify yourself so we know who you are for the minutes, and don't forget to unmute yourself. Eric?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that I could do it. I thought I was waiting for y'all to unmute me. Hello, everyone. Nice to make your acquaintance. I guess this is how we meet in these strange times. I'm Eric. I'm one of the team members at the Duchess. Grew up in the area. I was at one of the town hall meetings a couple years ago when you guys were doing them in person. And I'd just like to say I appreciate all the work that you've been doing on the laws and to get everything sort of like, you know, in line and clear. And yeah, I understand that it must be a lot of work. Yeah, so I sent through my comments earlier. I'm not sure if that you reviewed them or not, but I caught up with Jeff for quite a bit of time right before this call, and he kind of cleared up the first question that I had sent through, and that was just assuming that the definition of event is the same in this conference center law as it would be in the ag dev law, just to sort of help you know, read the law and make sure that I'm understanding everything correctly. He said that the way the law is written, that would be the case. I'm not sure if you guys could comment backwards or confirm that.
The whole intent of updating the conference center law was because of the event law and trying to make parity between the language and then also kind of defining really more what the conference is and how it's different than the ag event law.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, yeah, that's what like we're looking for, is just to have kind of it in line with the agriculture events law. And then, I mean, my main actually concern for the team and for myself is really the safety of this the outdoor event language that was deviated between the two laws. And, you know, I mean, the pandemic's still a real threat. Like the team's been inside, you know, operating safely. We're mostly vaccinated now, like, which is definitely a lot of peace of mind. But seeing that the wording in the conference center law just basically says no outdoor events shall occur at the site of the conference center was just really concerning for me, because, you know, the team wants to be outside. We kind of need to be outside. It's, you know, a matter of public safety to be doing as much as possible outdoors. And that was definitely the plan coming into the nicer weather. So I was just curious if this was, if there was any reason why this was different, or if we can just kind of like keep it in line with the ag and markets law and just, you know, kind of copy over the ag and markets section D18 on outdoor events that just basically says outdoor events shall be contained within the event area and determined by the planning board and specified on approval of site. Just basically
The biggest concern, and both with the ag events as well as the conference center, where agricultural events potentially could be outside because of farming activities, you know, with cows and horses and stuff like that, livestock, versus a conference center, which is typically within the confines of a building, as people would think about what a conference center is. So I think there's a difference between the two. But even with the ag events, most of our complaints come from noise, and obviously we do have a noise ordinance, but most of it comes from the concern of noise. And so to then allow for another venue to have outside events really becomes alarming. I didn't write this particular part. The town attorney did. But I think that's really where we were standing on that. I mean, again, you know, if it's outside and it's quiet, I mean, I don't think, you know, anybody's going to complain. So that's really where most violations come from, is a complaint.
And we definitely understand the noise ordinance, and the noise ordinance is in the conference center law too, and we're definitely comply by that and always would. So I don't see why the outdoor event, it would say we could be no if we're complying with noise ordinance. I mean, for example, we even hold yoga outdoors, like to the extent like it's just safer for everyone involved in terms of our instructors, our staff, the guests. we have a pavilion. That's where we hold a lot of the meals. Like we just, as a normal course of business, we hold a lot of stuff outside on our 250 acres. And of course, we're fine to comply with all the noise ordinance and anything else in the law. But it's just a matter of safety for myself and for the team in terms of having this wording in there, is how I feel.
The question that brings up for me is, do you qualify as an agricultural event center and a conference center? And can you do both?
So I did have another question about that in the law. Under the definition of conference center in section 1, it says any establishment located on a farm is governed by provisions of 250-45-1, which is the ag market law. So I wasn't sure if that was sort of your guys' way of saying, if you're a conference center, but you're on a farm like the Duchess is, should we just be following the ag and market law from now in that line?
Well, yeah, I mean, it says any establishment located on a farm is governed by provisions 250-45.1 and shall not be treated as a conference center. The only difference is the fact that you currently have a prior approval that kind of gives you some grandfathering towards your conference center. Now, originally, the thought was that you guys were going to change to an ag event center.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely still open for that, and we would definitely be pursuing that as well. I'm just kind of curious about like how, if we're following that law anyway, based on our current designation.
Well, my one question, or maybe a comment regarding that, I guess, because you guys kind of can go both ways, but you also have beds there. So you have people staying on over, right? So how, Dean, as far as that goes with the ag law, it's really not about having, the conference center gives the right for them to have beds or have people on the property, staying on the property on that. So I guess they're kind of like a mixed, they're in a certain, kind of like a kind of merge of a little of both in their particular, because they have the farming as well as the conference center that they already have.
Yeah, it's definitely an anomaly.
If I may, I don't want to jump in if it's still Eric's time, with the typical way public hearings go, and it's one at a time, and don't really want to turn it into a discussion. At the same time, I realize there's very few of us, so maybe we can do a little bit of that. So there was a couple things that struck me about it. There's certainly the safety aspect of doing outdoors, but in part because the event definition is going into section 105. Therefore, that definition applies to any time the word event appears in the town laws. That definition, I had it pulled up here, but I lost it, but it includes outdoor activities within the definition of event. Within the existing conference center law, it allows for a golf course, which would be an outdoor activity, which by the definition of event would be an outdoor event. So that in itself contradicts the law. Same thing with horses are allowed at a conference center, it's specifically mentioned. Also outdoor activities, therefore by the law, the definition of event, it creates a discrepancy. So it's an odd limitation, and I understand that to allow for potentially two types of larger venues to host outdoor activities has the potential to create a greater volume of noise complaints. The noise ordinance is still in place and it still applies, whether you're a 2-acre property or a 300-acre property, whether you're doing a wedding for your daughter or you're doing an event on a conference center, it still applies. So it seems very, very difficult to enforce, and it seems unreasonable to expect. Personally, I think that.
So
that
Jeff,
number 8 should
if
just
we
go.
match the ag event law to or we took the language from the ag event and put the same thing for outdoors in the conference center, you would feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with restricting it to whatever the event area is. And one of the things that was added into this conference center law is the notification of events over 50. And so it could easily be included in that notification. Here's our site map, and this is the event area here.
Mhm.
So now we know that all outdoor activities are going to occur within that area. So you don't end up with, somebody on the edge of their property, putting the wedding tent there and doing that kind of thing. I think that's a more reasonable approach if that's possible.
Okay.
The other thing that I had under the definition of conference center, and again, I understand the potential for overlap between agricultural event venue and conference center, and the primary difference of definition seems to be farming. But one of the things that we are most excited about with this property is being able to do agricultural conferences. A farm operation that's looking to do events to help supplement their farm operation revenue is going to be doing the occasional wedding, the occasional family reunion, smaller events that are marketing their farm products. That's what Ag and Markets Law 305 supports.
Yep.
But a facility like us that has the infrastructure to develop actual conferences and has a small 4-acre currently farm where we can produce the crops and horses, and we will eventually be introducing other livestock, we can actually use those as test agriculture, right? So we could have a conference where we're bringing people in who are looking to improve farming practices to become more sustainable, for example. And we can have a plot of part of our farm where we can actually demonstrate that as a part of this conference. And the way that this is currently worded, we wouldn't be able to do that. From a New York State perspective, Ag and Markets perspective, New York State is a right to farm state, which means that anybody has the right to farm.
Yep.
And this effectively takes that right away from a conference center. So thinking outside of the Duchess as a property, someone else decides they want to do a conference center, and then through the part of that conference center, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could have a small farm? This wouldn't allow for that. And I think that, and this might be a question for Shane, but I think that works against the intent of New York State's Ag and Markets Law.
So then, well, I mean, I'm going to answer my own question, but it seems that you should really be more of an ag event center, and then we have to deal with the lodging issue.
Well, in the ag events law, it does allow for lodging in an agricultural event under that law. It has almost the same paragraph as what the conference center says.
And it's been a while, but I thought that was really, the lodging was specifically for the just for the people involved in the operation, not for guests.
Yeah, it's funny. This is me being old looking at the computer, but I had it up on my screen a while ago for the meeting, and of course now I can't find it. I can get there real quick.
I have it. It says lodging shall not contain a kitchen facility, and lodging facilities shall be used of attendees at events, vendors, and employees.
Right. So it still applies to the guests of the event itself.
Okay.
The idea was to limit it so it's not open to the public, that it's not a hotel.
Right.
But to your question, Dean, this may be a subtle difference, but there's a difference between a farm that is doing events and a conference center that is doing agriculture. And so, again, like I said, if you're building these conferences because that's your business, and that allows you to do innovative farming because you're not relying on farming for your income, it allows for a broader diversity of offerings for conferences and seminars, right? We had, and some of this came from somebody who looked at the property a couple of years ago, and they had a vision of creating exactly that here, where all of the conferences would become agricultural based, and that this property in Clinton, in the heart of the Hudson Valley, would become this point of education for taking farming from the old practices of the 70s, which are not sustainable, to the new practices that are coming next that are not only more sustainable, but also more profitable. That's a conference center offering agricultural activities. So like I said, it might be a subtle difference, But I think to flat out eliminate that both works against ag and markets law and takes away the opportunity for a conference center to be able to farm.
So to which part was removed that you're referencing?
In the definition of conference center, it was
Yeah.
the addition of any establishment located on a farm is governed by the provisions and shall not be treated as a conference center.
The last
So, ideally, if that whole sentence could go away and leave it up to, maybe it's a question for the planning board, right? Maybe through application, the planning board makes the determination based on the narrative and the site plan. Hey, you guys really, in this application, you're an agricultural events venue, so you should present that,
Mhm.
right? When they go through the sketch meeting. But then somebody else might be presenting it as a conference center, and in their annual review might say, hey, we want to add farming next year, and this is what we're thinking of. They would still be allowed to do that, and the planning board can make that determination.
Okay.
Thank you. The other one, this was a housekeeping thing. On page 2, number 2, hours of operation. It says, I think that the idea was to have longer hours on the weekend, but the way it's currently worded, you'd only be able to do it for 2 hours on Friday and Saturday. It says 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., but I think we want 12 a.m.
You got us, Jeff. You got us.
But I think that was the only one. That's pretty good. We already talked about number 8. If that could go away, that would be, I think, huge. Oh, the other thing in number 8, and if 8 goes away altogether, then this becomes a moot point. But it mentions specifically tents. And there are times that we might do an outdoor conference that relies on outdoor dining, and the tent has to be erected in case of inclement weather. Or as we explore more outdoor ways to be compliant with any kind of COVID restrictions that still exist or any that might come up in the future, we might put a pop-up tent up to do outdoor check-in. The gazebo, we already have a gazebo on site. Obviously, it wouldn't make us tear it down, but as Eric mentioned, it provides for outdoor dining, which not only creates a broader offering from a business standpoint, but it also helps be compliant with safety concerns. But again, if 8 goes away altogether, then those are moot.
It says unless otherwise approved by the planning board, so.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Dean. That's true. I did realize that when I read it. That does not inherently apply to the second sentence. So the outdoor events could be approved by the planning board. Let me spend a second with that in my head.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I'll ask Shane to make that more clear that,
Okay.
you know, that if it was approved by the planning board, that would be an exception.
Yeah. So
If
yeah.
he doesn't
so
want
if-
to remove the sentence entirely, but.
Right. Yeah. If we can't get rid of 8, then potentially wording it as outdoor events, including the use of tents, gazebos, or other non-enclosed structures at the site of the conference centers requires approval by the planning board. Something like that. That way the planning board, again, has the authority to make that.
I would
call.
also say the building inspector as well, because obviously any
You need a
structure.
permit. Exactly, right, including the tents. And also, again, because of the application to golf courses, horse operations, and swimming pools, which are also allowed at the conference center. And I think that was it, unless you want me to make up some more.
No, I don't.
Yes. So, but thank you. Again, I know that this has been going on for a little while, and we're all really excited for the end.
Well, Dutchess County Planning had made some comments and I hadn't had a chance to read it. So obviously, I think that what we should probably do is leave the public hearing open until next month when we can have it fixed, corrected, and and then maybe vote on it at that point.
Okay, that would be great.
Dean, if I could offer, if you are sure of the changes you want to make, you can close the public hearing, make those changes, and then not have to have another one.
Yeah, if I was writing the changes right now myself, then I would know what they are, but I'm
Okay.
I'm really not sure, Carol. So
Okay,
that's why I'm suggesting that
Okay.
we leave it open.
Yep.
I also noticed that this is entirely replacing subsection 250-45. Does that mean the intention is to eliminate dude ranches altogether?
That was actually a comment, Dean. I know you didn't read that, but I was reading the Shelby's thing. That was one of the comments about was taking that out as the dude ranch on there. But
Yeah.
The Dutchess County Planning pointed that out,
Right.
Jeff.
And that concerns me, partly because the nature of the dude ranch, it's a funny term. I get it. And every time I mention it to people, they're like, "A what?" But there is an inherent rural nature to the town of Clinton. And to allow for a property to create an experience around that type of environment seems to really fit with that rural nature of the town.
I think when you start talking dude ranch, I think you start thinking about like Rocking Horse Ranch, where
Right.
that's more of a, kind of like an event place, hotel,
Mhm.
dude ranch.
Yeah, and
Destination.
I totally agree with that, and I think that in our early discussions with the ag events law, we spent a lot of time kind of going around that, like, what's the difference between a bed and breakfast, a dude ranch, a hotel, and all those sort of scenarios. So it struck me when I read it that it was missing, and I wasn't sure if that was intentional or if there would be a different classification written up for dude ranches, or if the plan is for it just to go away altogether.
Oh,
Dean,
thanks, more work.
I was gonna say, Dean, I imagine you already have that ongoing.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, sure. So that is the plan. What was Dutchess County Planning's comment because they wanted that in, or they just made a comment, they were surprised and they wanted it out?
They noticed that the new definition would eliminate it. And so in our schedule of use regulations, dude ranches should be eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was just a housekeeping comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously there's some other things that need to be updated in our schedule of use, but
Right.
again, that's also ongoing with our zoning revision, that there's a bunch of things that would change as far as both the schedule of use and the definitions.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay, well, I'm sorry, that's probably all I have. Unless you want me to go on, I can keep.
No.
I mean,
That's
just going back to my original point, my only concern is sort of this no outdoor event line in number 8. Like,
Yeah.
even my approval of the towning board, we're going to have aspects that are outside of every single seminar or event.
Well, I do see the conflict in a sense that it does allow for, like Jeff was mentioning, the golf and the horseback riding and those type of things. So those are outside events. So it is kind of, it's definitely contradictory to the whole use of the property. So I'll talk to Shane about it and see what we come up with.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and-
the whole team would appreciate it.
Yeah, sort of a thought on that. Part of the intent when we've been working on this was to help maintain the larger properties in the town, and so that people could have a means of generating revenue. Because those large properties and those open spaces are important, and if the enjoyment of those outdoor spaces is taken away, then we're sort of missing that big chunk of the point.
I understand.
Thank you very much.
Any more comments? Okay, there being no further comments, I make a motion to leave the public hearing open until June 8th. That's our next town board meeting. Is there a second?
And we want to do it at
Can,
6:25 again?
yes, that works.
Okay, at 6:25. Okay, any further comments?
Second.
Second, okay, ready to vote? Oberly, I. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
I,
Dean Michael,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. Next one is adjournment for the public hearing. I make a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Roll call. Oberly, I. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
I.
Dean Michael,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. This part of the public hearing is done, and we'll enter in next to the regular town board meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you ready, Fred?
All set, all set.
Okay. I call the regular town board meeting being held on May 11th, 2021 via teleconference using Zoom with a YouTube live stream to the public. This is due to the COVID-19 emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings and pursuant to Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 202.1 issued on March 12th, 2020, suspending the open meetings law. No pledge, no flag. And now we got to do a quorum roll call. Supervisor Oberly, here. Councilman Giuliano,
Here.
Councilman Witten,
Here.
Councilman Dean Michael,
Here.
Councilwoman Cunningham,
Here.
Town Clerk Mackin.
Here.
We have a quorum, so we can conduct business. I make a motion to approve the meeting, the April 13, 2021 Town Board meeting. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Oberly, I. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
I.
Dean Michael,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 2021 special town board meeting. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Oberly, I. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
I.
Dean Michael,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. Supervisors' comments. Okay, here we go. On the Memorial Day holiday, the town offices, town court clerks, and highway department will be closed on Saturday and Monday, May 29 and 31. The library will be closed only on Monday, May 31, and open regular hours on Saturday, May 29. The recycling center will be open regular hours. That's 7:30 a.m. to noon on Saturday, May 29th. This is a reminder that grievance day is Wednesday, May 26th from 4 to 8 p.m. on Zoom. Please have any grievance applications into the assessor's office before 8 p.m. on May 26th. More information on the process can be found on the town's webpage, www.townofclinton.com. Forms are also available in the out mail box on the porch of the town hall. Another reminder that the Fiddler's Bridge Road Bridge near the intersection of Long Pond Road by West Clinton Station 2 will be closed to all traffic starting Tuesday, June 1st until mid-October 2021. Notify your attendees coming to social activities and delivery and service providers of the closure, and the detour routes will be published when they become available. I want to report that my secretary to the supervisor, Stephanie Timpano, by herself, after about 4 months of searching town records and many discussions with FEMA staff in Albany, has obtained approval for her grant request for $17,755 for COVID supplies purchased in 2020. 2 more FEMA grant requests will be done in 2021 for Fred Sequeen's IT Zoom support and COVID supplies for 2021. This is replacement of the money that we expended, which we weren't sure we were going to get. The town encourages its residents to sign up for the free electronic email service MailChimp so they can quickly get information on activities and other information directly. No waiting for the newspaper to come, mail to arrive, or having to search the internet or town's webpage for information. To quickly sign up, go to the town's webpage, again, www.townofclinton.com. And in the upper right side top line, click on subscribe and fill in the requested information. During the time of COVID-19, the information changes weekly and sometimes daily. This way you'll be quickly informed of the COVID changes and other pertinent town information. That's all I have on that. Now the next thing is there's a CAC presentation. Is Maya rather on
Palenzuela. Goer Palenzuela. That's her name.
oh yeah, I just
Fred, is Maya signed on?
Shh.
she was sent it.
No, she's not.
Okay, we'll do it next time then. Or you want to do it, Michael?
I am not prepared to do that presentation.
Go to your next agenda item and let me see if I send her the invite now, whether she'll join.
I thought you did.
I made a mistake. I made an error and I forgot.
No.
Sorry. I can send it right now.
Okay, we'll do the next presentation and we'll bounce back. Okay, this is on the proposed townwide reval, how to approve a lead person and to implement townwide reval. And at this point, the town assessor, Teresa Stegner, will just give you some background as to what it is. And the important factor that we are bringing it up now is, first of all, the change in values, but that's one part. The other part is, if we're going to expend monies to do something, we have to put it in the 2022 budget, which starts in August, and we got to collect costs and whatever it takes. So it's 2 problems here. One is the change in assessment values, and the other one is putting it into the budget to do something. So Teresa, give us an update of where we stand. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
No.
Got you now.
Raise your volume.
I don't, it's probably not my volume.
No.
Get
No,
closer to it.
no, you think so?
Yeah, you're getting better.
Am I getting better?
Yeah, she needs to get
that's
closer to her microphone.
I just got to get closer to my microphone. Usually I yell loud. My husband yells at me. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so since I was appointed the assessor in September of 2013, I came in and we were at 101%. Since then, I have continued to do non-reappraisal reassessment projects to maintain 100%. In order to continue that, I feel the requirement of doing a full-blown reappraisal reassessment project, including full data collection of every parcel and analysis of every different type of property class, done by generally an outside company. Now, it could be done internally also, but I would need the resources. And as you know, this is my part-time job, so I wouldn't have the time to devote that perhaps the prior assessor Garth did when he did it in-house. So I have a concern with that. But I think Ray gave you an idea of how much it would probably cost for an outside company to do a womb to tomb reappraisal project, reassessment project, and it's probably in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $500,000. I was going to contact GAR. They're usually the highest. I didn't have a chance. I'm sorry. I've been extremely busy in both jobs. But anyway, so my, I would say that if you put together an RFP, I don't know how much, there's standard RFPs out there through the state, taxation and finance, can be tweaked a little bit to your needs. You could put that out just to get an idea of how much it would be. And as Ray said, you'd have to put it in the budget, and then generally you'd probably do the data collection portion in 2022 and then have the revaluation at 100% for 2023. So in other words, in 2022, we'd kind of let it slide for a year. And maybe that's the best year to do that, because I anticipate a 15 to 20% change in values across the board. And this is not just in the town of Clinton. We're seeing this in all of Dutchess County. So what happened was the first piece of COVID is in 2021's assessment roll, essentially. Because the state uses sales from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020 to establish what the market value to assess value is. So for next year, it'll be July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, when most of the COVID sales occurred. So we're going to see a bigger jump in, I think, next year. So, you know, I hate to let it slide for a year, but this has been a lot of work to me. So what I have to do is I have to do a systematic analysis of the entire town. And that's generally done by looking at every property through a statistical analysis by property class. There's basically 100s is vacant, 200s is residential. 100s is farm, 200s is residential, 300s is vacant, 400 is commercial, 500 is like community. Anyway, so there's different categories, and each one of those categories, generally, there's other property classes that you can narrow it down. So for the residential section, I look at 210s, single families, 220s, two families, 240s, which is residents with acreage. Anyway, so within each class of that, then there's narrowing it down more is your neighborhoods and your building styles. So to get an idea of what the market is doing in each segment, rather than just say, okay, everybody, the market did fit, which is what the equalization rate does essentially, is the market went 15% up, we're going to raise everybody 15%. Now that's not really how it works. And that's the benefit you get when you maintain 100%, you do a revaluation, is you can change those segments of the market where you see them changing, where they're different from one year to the next. So commercial might only, change 2%, whereas residential changes 20% and vacant goes down. So if you don't have that 100%, assessment to market value, you don't get the benefit of changing sectors of your properties. So that's the benefit of staying at 100%. And the problem is you'll quickly lose it. So if, like I said, if I let it go, and by the way, I found out I had a meeting yesterday with my Assessors Association, Steve Hartnett, he's from the state. I didn't have to tell you that I was doing this, that I was perhaps not going to maintain 100%. I could have just let it go. I don't think that's right, because the town has to make the decision to do a revaluation. The town board does. I think I should be telling you that I'm going to not maintain the 100%. So that's kind of my plan. Like I said, it's a lot. I worked quite hard this year, many hours. This was something that was a little out of the ordinary last year too, but this year especially with the market's been going up the last couple of years, but this year and potentially next year are just crazy. Anyway.
So Teresa, you and I had a conversation, and we came up with several other ideas.
Yep.
So one of the ideas was you wanted to find out if you could just do, say, the commercial properties, which you felt most that it should be an outside firm more than just you internally. Did you have an opportunity to talk?
So I did. I talked to the state about that. So you cannot do that unless you do the non-reappraisal reassessment project for the rest of it. So you could potentially do it just for that sector. And if I agreed to do the other analysis, you could do it that way.
Mhm.
But once again, I am really
And
not.
then part two of that.
Part two of that. Right?
Part two of that was that, well, instead of hiring a firm at a cost of $250,000+, and for long-term planning, you and I had talked, it would probably be wise to maybe hire a deputy assessor
So
who could do most of the work internal for the fact that over the next couple of years, they could be solely doing that, but learning from you how to take over your position for the day that you don't no longer want to be the assessor.
that would be great. So that's also would be
Which would be a
wonderful
much,
thing, which would be right. That would really be a benefit in all kinds of ways.
it's a benefit in two ways. One is
Right.
cost, and two is long-term planning.
Right, absolutely. So I totally agree with that. And the other thing you brought up was you could extend the revaluation over, say, a 5-year period and collect 50,000. You know, let's say it was 250,000. You could save,
Start
put it
planning.
in a fund for, and then do the reval after 5 years. But that's going to create inequities. That's a little tricky. The longer you go, 5 years isn't terrible, but I don't know if that's the best way to go. But it is a potential,
I
option.
kind of lean towards the hiring a deputy to kind of take this internal and then have somebody to basically replace you at some point in time.
That would be good. After my
To me,
5
that's better
years.
planning than a
Yes.
one-time payment to some outside firm.
Right. And we do need a data collector. So as part of that person's job, I would teach them soup to nuts, everything. I would be happy to do that. I hope you can find someone. It's been tricky. This job's a little more involved than most people think. I just want to put it out there.
So if we were able to find a deputy by January 1st, though, that's when we would do this next year. That's the plan.
You would have to budget for it, though, if you're going to do it in-house. It would be much cheaper as we pointed out.
So as a plan, and this is just a proposal,
Mhm.
basically what we would do is hire the outside firm to do the commercial, because that is a specialty in itself.
Yes.
And then internally, we could hire a deputy so that we have that data collection on more of the residential properties.
That would be great.
Oh, sorry, Dean. Go ahead.
What's your thoughts? You think that's the best course of action, or?
Well, I definitely lean more that way. My concern was when Teresa was saying that, okay, it could be 250,000, it could be 500,000. There's a big change in that number. And, trying to come up with that in the budget, because there's no grants or anything that we can get for that. Correct, Teresa, on that?
No, there's not.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a rebate. You get up to $5 a parcel after you do the.
After, yeah.
But it's not $5. It's up to $5. It's like $2.05 or something. But
Yeah, I think before we were getting $1 a parcel or something.
yeah, it's very minimal, so it's not going to help you much. But
I kind of like Dean's you whatever you guys worked up that way with the deputy. That sounds fair.
But I would encourage you to do an RFP. I would talk to the state. I could even talk to them and just to get an idea of what it would, it doesn't, it's going to cost you some time, but to send an RFP out, you don't have to. Hyde Park does this all the time, I understand. Anyway, so you could send out an RFP just to see what you get back and how much it does cost, give you an idea of how much it is per parcel and how much you'll save doing it in-house.
Well, just taking $1,000 a parcel, like 2,500 parcels.
No, it's not $1,000 a parcel. It's probably $130 a parcel.
Is it that low?
150.
Even with the commercial?
Yeah, because we don't have that much commercial.
Okay.
I don't know. There's some things are commercial that, churches are commercial. They're, so if you look at every commercial part, I think we have 30 something commercial. It's a very small percentage of our parcels. Most of our parcels are residential.
Well, that's what I meant.
vacant.
Anyway, I was off the decimal, but what I was saying is we're still coming in at the 250 to 300,000 range.
Yeah. True.
Would it speed up the process if we hired some students in the summer to actually go out and record dimensions and pictures and stuff as we discussed?
you could do that. I mean, any data collection that anyone can do, I'll be happy to train them, would be helpful, really. That's the time consuming piece of this entire puzzle, is data collection and then field review, which comes after the data collection, the analysis, to make sure you go out and say, okay, I valued it at this. This is, you drive past and go, yeah, that seems like the right number. So those are the really time consuming pieces, because sometimes you have to go out to a property multiple times, depending on, whether you can arrange for someone to be there to look at it if they want to be there. It's that's the hard part.
Now, does the state or the county offer class like they did in the past to teach the people what to collect and how to collect it and how to behave or whatever?
I got to be honest, I don't know the last time they did a data collection class. It's been a while, so I'd have to find out.
I wasn't to the class, but I knew it took a week.
Yeah.
For people.
Right. I actually took that class when I was first assessor. I don't know, back in 2006, I guess.
Oh.
So just so that we can mull it over, how many hours would you think you would need for a deputy to be able to complete this in a certain time frame?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to do a little math in that. I think it's generally, you want to, especially since they're new, it's probably going to be an hour per parcel. Now, some of them are vacant, so you won't really have to do, but we have about 1,800 residential parcels, so 1,800 hours to collect data on that. And then they also need to understand how to take that and put it into, draw it onto a card. You have to take a 3-dimensional object and make it a 2-dimensional object, and do it either, by hand, most people do, or use an Apex. So we really want to go to a software package. So yeah, there's a little training involved there. So yeah, it would probably, I would say, you're going to need 2,000 hours, probably.
That's over 1 year, correct?
Over a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just doing some math here.
But it's hard to work in the winter.
Yeah, that's very true too. It's hard to work in the winter. Although the winter has some benefits in that the leaves are off the trees. So really it's best to sometimes data collect in the spring and fall.
2,000 hours comes out to basically a full-time job.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Which still for 1 year would still
But
be
would you
a
need
lot.
to do it in 1 year, or could you do it over 2? Because usually when you hire the firms, don't they usually take about 2 years?
Yes, they usually do. They usually do the data collection in one season, usually in the summertime or the spring, fall. But yes, you could do that for 2 weeks. There's definitely options.
Yeah. So if you split it up with, say, 4 students, just with college students or somebody, wanting to earn a few bucks and get a resume stuff, you shrink the 2,000 hours for one person, maybe to 1,000, and then the others split it up because they'd only be here in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, if you're splitting it up between, let's say, a deputy and then a couple of assistants or interns, that wouldn't necessarily be too bad. But I think in long-term planning, what we're doing is we're basically educating somebody to be the assessor in long-term by having just, somebody that's here just for, a few months in the summer and having to retrain over and over. I think that becomes a little too tedious and takes away from, the evaluation process.
And the intent of having someone that's ready when Teresa's ready to say, I'm
Right.
ready to retire.
Tomorrow.
Oh.
This has been a challenging year. I'll just say that much. And just remember, raising your assessment does not mean we're raising your taxes.
Right.
But everybody thinks that. So you can't change people's mind when it comes to that.
It's like a tide. It raises all boats at the same level.
Exactly right. Yes.
Okay. Do we have any more questions that Teresa can answer or so? Just trying to figure out how we move ahead here now. Because do we want to wait until June to make a decision, we'd like to go one way versus another way. Is one of the people here willing to do an analysis and work with Teresa to come up with some numbers or some ideas and, more detail? I was just trying to get it started now so that we have time to put something in the budget if we're going to do something in the budget.
Well, we're going to have to do at least an RFP for the commercial properties
Yeah.
to find out how much that's going to cost us.
And if you're doing the commercial, you may as well do the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's not that much more. You can just do them both, just so you
I
know
don't know.
how much it costs.
Yeah, all I know is the last GAR thing was we had a low bid on the contract. But by the time we were done paying for the extras, like the Chinese menu, $5 a picture, it became quite expensive.
I think we were paying Garth $10,000 extra to bring up the assessment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had it as a separate line item in his pay.
Yep.
2 years. And after the assessment was done, that line disappeared. So he went back to his normal salary. But in this case, if, say, we hired a deputy, the deputy would have their line and Teresa wouldn't have anything special. She may have a little bit, but it's pretty much already, covered. So who wants to take the lead on trying to come up with a solution for the June meeting?
Sure, I will.
Okay, Dean will do it. Okay.
Since I was being forced into it, since Michael said it was either me or Chris anyway.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay, so we're just gonna hold it open and come up in June, and try to make a decision as to what to do so we have a foundation for the budget to start, collecting real numbers. We don't need the numbers until August, but hey, if you don't start now on this stuff, it gets hard to put it all together.
Yeah, but I think the solution that Dean and Teresa has with the deputy, I think is going to solve a lot of issues across the board. I really think, long term, it's going to be cheaper, but it's also going to give someone that gets to learn our town and the workings of that. So there's a smooth transition, and it's always good having some, especially in that type of position, some sort of backup.
Well, also when people see their assessment go up, like Teresa said, doesn't mean their taxes go up, but
That's right.
they see their assessment go up, they're going to be all flocking to the office. So she's going to be inundated with that as well.
Yes, absolutely have been.
Might have to put a moat around the building over there.
No, just a drive-through.
It's good that it's a locked door so far.
Okay, I think we've wrapped this piece up.
Okay.
I thank you, Teresa, for your informative discussion.
Sure.
And
Anytime.
Dean, we'll look forward to some sort of report or analysis or something at June so we can figure out where we're going.
Okay. I mean, if everybody feels comfortable with that, then let's send out an RFP and then also see what we can do in the search pool is what's out there. And then we're figuring 2,000 hours potentially over 2 years, but maybe 2,000 hours, 1,000 for a deputy, and then maybe a couple of interns from the college. So I'll reach out to the college and see if anybody, I don't even know what to think, but maybe someone more from a mathematical stance or.
Architectural or engineering school like Dutchess, they have curriculums of that nature.
Yep.
That could be most helpful. Okay, we'll pop back. Is Maya available?
No,
Find her?
She's not, go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry if I haven't looked like I'm paying attention. We've been sending messages back and forth. No one's been able to get in touch with Maya. So,
Okay, then we'll just,
so we're going to move on.
okay.
I just want to say that Fred did notify her, so
He
we
did.
the email, so she was notified. He mentioned earlier that he didn't do that, but that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item of business then is approved fee schedule. Dean?
So hopefully everybody had an opportunity to look over some changes that we had made. in addition to the fee schedule, I've been working with our town attorney as far as potentially, changing the violations because they hadn't been changed in a long time either, but also taking into consideration a separate violation line for the ag events, the conference centers, and the Airbnbs. But that's another topic. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to look over the fee schedule, if you had any questions, you wanted to go over any of those things.
Yeah.
So one of the changes, just to let you know, is that we're changing the way we actually bill for a building permit. We were doing it one way. Most of all the other towns were doing it in a different fashion. One would be, we were just doing it on a project cost, which is very, could be skewed one way to the other, project to project, versus just doing it on a square footage basis. So that was one of the suggestions that we changed to kind of match what all the other towns were doing. But then all our other fees hadn't been changed in 8 years. So they were all kind of made by the help of the building zoning clerk, Arlene, and our building inspector and zoning inspector came up with some other towns and tried to match what they are. Not a huge change. Still, if you scan down, the fees aren't all that, that high compared to other towns, but we did increase them.
I assume that we've already made a lot of comparison with other towns. And I was just looking at the 4,500 and the 1,000. And I'm assuming that that's competitive with other towns. That's under payments in lieu of, it's for the recreational land. It's on page 2.
On page 2. You know what, I'm gonna have to switch computers because this one's dying. My other one wouldn't start.
I'm assuming we've done this before.
Yeah, those are actually numbers that hadn't changed.
Okay, that
in this
haven't
version.
changed. Okay, I had no previous knowledge, so I wasn't sure. So that's the only one I questioned, whether we were going up, down, or whether it was staying the same. And that's all.
I'm switching computers only because I'm using my phone now. So I'm going to disconnect from this one and then I'll switch to my other one here. Let's see here. Why am I?
While Dean's doing that, I'll just bring up that the cemetery fees also changed to what we had discussed last month. We have no premiums for weekends and holidays. It's all just one flat fee, no matter what day of the week.
Yeah, I think it's important that we actually approve it tonight if at all possible, unless someone has strenuous objections, because we are getting mega million-dollar home stuff going up and we're pricing them very cheap. And, while a boom is still on, let's recoup some more money to recover our costs in the departments.
I agree. I just wanted clarification on that. That's all.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Dean, you're off.
Your volume's off, Dean.
You're muted.
I think he's locked. He's getting back in.
Sorry. Am I unmuted now?
No, you're good.
You're
Okay.
good.
So, yeah, I mean, our fees haven't, like I said, changed in 8 years. So we were way below anybody else and we still didn't even raise them up to what other towns are doing. So, I mean, I think these are fair, prices.
Okay. Thank you.
So if everybody's in agreement, I make a motion, be it resolved, the town board approves the following resolution of number 27 of 2021, the fee schedule dated May 11th, 2021. Is there a second?
Giuliano second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote. Oberly, I. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean Michael,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next one is Conference Center local law. That's essentially being.
Yeah, we're going to
delayed
table that
till
until next month. Unless somebody else has any other comments that they want to add.
Are we gonna deal with the schedule of use regulations and zoning revision, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't want to have to go through public hearing on that as well and change when we have all the rest of the schedule of use changes and everything else. But I'll talk to Shane and see what he thinks about that as well.
While we're talking about that, should we try to get, because I mean, that's stuff that's got to be taken care of, get back on the zoning revision? Wouldn't that be a good thing to try to start getting in person?
we're gonna-
That's an item on the agenda, a little bit.
Okay, all right, we'll go back.
Gotta wait until then.
I didn't get that point yet.
Okay, next item is designated clean energy community by Witten.
So the Clean Energy Communities Program is run by NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research and Development Agency. When it first began, there were what they called 10 high impact actions. They've now upped that to 13 different actions. And if a municipality accomplishes 4 of those, they become a designated clean energy community. We've done that just this past month. Our 4 were, we sent, we did energy code enforcement training. We have a unified solar permit in place. We have a benchmarking program run by the CAC, which is tracking our energy use through our municipal buildings. And we're part of a community choice aggregation program. So over 600 communities in New York have enrolled in the Clean Energy Communities Program, and just over half have actually been designated. So this is something that we should be really proud of. I know I am. I've been working on it for the 3.5 years I've been on the board. And it enables us to get automatically eligible for a $5,000 grant. And if we continue to accomplish any of the other high impact actions on their list, we gain points and can become eligible for more grants. What's great is most of those actions are also involved in the Climate Smart Communities program, which we're also working on. So it's like a double benefit. So basically, I just wanted to talk about how proud I am of what we've accomplished. And it's not me. It's definitely the CAC I need to thank. I want to thank Ray. He was the lead on the community choice aggregation. The town board for going along with all of my schemes of benchmarking and unified solar permits and enforcement training over the years. Carol, who has helped put together more paperwork than you can imagine that I had to keep submitting to get this designation. And both everybody in the zoning and building department that have helped with solar laws and benchmarking and all those other things. So I just wanted to pat ourselves on the back and take a moment and say thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Michael. You did good work.
Thanks.
And the other thing I'd like to also compliment is Barbara Mansell, who's the chair of the CAC. She's devoted a lot of time in trying to coordinate all this stuff because they got a lot of pieces over there that are going on.
Barbara is a treasure for our town.
Yeah.
And I feel very lucky to be the liaison to the CAC because I get to spend at least one meeting a month with her.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The next one is rebidding.
That's you, Mike.
That's you, Mike Witten. Turn your mute off.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the sale of highway and recreation surplus items with no minimum bids through absolute auctions as listed on attachment C.
Giuliano second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, these are things that we had put up for auction last month and didn't meet the minimum. And we've also added a trailer that was recreations to this month's auction.
And just to be clear with that, when they went to bid, they didn't have minimums on it at the auction house. When we set our amendments on here, because they were given as an estimated value per se on that, and we did pretty well last time on with everything else, with the exception of a couple pieces of equipment. So that's why we're putting them back out, so that, you know, at this point, the supervisor and superintendent of highway has the option to amend or accept or reject based on the bids.
I called the auction house the other day and asked them about no bids. First of all, they put $1 bid if you put nothing. They got to have a number to start with. I was questioning the fact that if you only put $1 to start it, and you buy, say, the lawnmower there, and you get it for $20, you pick the thing up and take it to the junkyard and get $200 in scrap, we've lost a lot of money. And we're thinking maybe we should put some value to try to recoup something. But, you know.
It is in the resolution that we passed last July, though.
It was July.
Or this past July, that you and Todd Martin can reject bids.
Understand, but
Okay.
it just gets you a higher level up. That's
Yeah.
all I was saying. You don't get a $20 bid when you might have gotten 75 or 100. I'm just picking numbers randomly. That was all. But
Okay.
whatever you two guys want, I'll go with. But I just want to make a comment that we could be losing some, maybe money.
Well, I mean, I know that metal prices are up from where they were, but where scrap metal was like pennies a pound. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing significant that we would really even worry about. And having to take, I mean, for myself, when I take scrap metal to the junkyard, it usually costs me more in gas that I'm taking the metal there than I'm actually getting from the metal. So I would rather have someone pick it up and take it for $20. I think I'm making more money that way.
Yeah. Just a comment I had, whatever
No,
you want, we'll go with. Okay, ready for vote?
Yeah.
Okay, make a roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Michael,
Dean Michael or
Yes.
Aye.
Dean Michael.
and Witten.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Michael, for the ZBA application fee.
That's you, Dean. Next item.
the ZBA application fee?
Yeah.
Right, you asked to have it on the agenda, number 6.
Did I take number 6 off? I have a different number 6 here in front of me.
You want me to read it and you can discuss it when you hear it?
Sure, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the refund of $200 administration review fee to Kim and Keith Punchar for their June 27th, 2019 ZBA appeal.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay. Now, which Michael's gonna talk to
Dean.
it?
Yeah, so I remember this now. I'm sorry. I was on page 6 of a different page, but this is a situation. We don't typically refund fees. The applicant is complaining that they never had met in person, so they feel like nothing was done. I was told that the members of the planning board had reviewed it and thought that it was too similar to the last application, so they didn't move on it. So either way, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think in the long run, if they didn't do a lot of work, we could just refund it.
Any more discussion? Ready to vote? Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Michael, this is Dean.
Yes, aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
I have a lot to say tonight.
When is reimbursement?
March 12th, 2021, Governor Cuomo signed legislation granting public and private employees paid leave in order to get a COVID-19 vaccine. The new law, which went into effect immediately, gives employees up to 4 hours of paid leave per injection. Along those lines, I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves authorizing sick leave reimbursement for the actual time off up to 4 hours per injection for the highway employees who received COVID-19 vaccinations during the workday before March 12th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Giuliano second.
Any further discussion?
So now we're reimbursing people from the past.
Yes.
So
It's
there
three
were
people.
highway employees that went and got the COVID vaccine because they thought it was the right thing to do before that legislation was signed. And then other employees went and got the COVID vaccine because it was the right thing to do after the legislation was signed. And so there were some employees that got reimbursed for that time and others who didn't. And we just thought in the interest of being fair to all of our employees, we would retroactively credit the ones that went and got it before that legislation was signed.
Yeah.
Okay.
They got, the-
I was originally against going back, I think on the last meeting when we spoke about this or when it came up, but we only had a few people at that point and we got a smaller crew.
it's 3 people.
Yeah.
It's- Yeah. 3 people.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be reimbursed for their sick time that they took off.
Okay, done with discussion. Roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
I,
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Zoning Review Committee meetings.
Well, we discussed starting up again, but my concern is that typically there's 3 people that come to the meetings and it's usually Russ Tompkins, Ian and Jeff Newman. And I know that Russ is not really up on technology. So my thought was not to resume until we can do them live. Now, if we want to do them, okay, we want to start maybe one day a month, because we were one day a month, then we were 2 days a month, so we've flexed back and forth, but I want to give everybody an opportunity. And since those 3 people are typically the ones that come to the meetings and put the most time into it, I want to make sure that they have ample opportunities to voice their opinions.
I mean, as of now, I mean, we can have what, 8, not counting us, what, 18? Is that correct?
Yes.
And I thought I was in one of your emails, Ray, that I seen come through today. I think it was today, regarding that those numbers are going to start changing a little bit over the next month or so. Is that correct?
Yeah, they keep changing all the time.
But as of now, so I mean, it's not like we get a huge turnout on there. I would start planning, maybe within a month or so, getting back on track and moving forward, because I mean, we got to start getting some of this stuff done. I mean, we sat on it for a year. We understand. Yeah.
I would say you mentioned getting, the 3 people, and if they had any opinions. I know that I don't want to speak for him, but I spoke to Ian about this, and he agreed that the zoning revision meetings work better when we do it live, that because it's a more conversational thing and everybody's got the documents in front of them. So he would prefer, I believe, that when we can do it safely live, that's when he would like to start them.
Yeah.
And I, again, like I said, Russ, I know is not big on the technology. So I know that he wants to do it live. So that's what I was really trying to accommodate. I thought Ian for sure would want to do it over the internet, but so I'm surprised to hear that. But yeah, I do find it, this is easy. I mean, you can do it from anywhere, and I know that Ian travels a lot, so that's why I thought maybe he would like that better. But I just think we should do it live if the 3 major people are most accommodated that way. That's the way we should do it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we could just start off like one day a month, and whenever we want to start, and, you know, just get it going.
I also agree that it should be live because the synergism you get by the participants sometimes comes out with solutions that would take forever if we did it on Zoom. Okay, and it's proven time and time again. So I think waiting till we can do it live to get that kind of participation would be the wisest thing.
The limiting factor that we have is a 6-foot distance thing. That's where we come with 18. Once that gets removed, we're okay, or it gets shrunk to 3.
Well,
Some
yeah,
number.
the big
total
topics have
number of
been,
people in the room is way beyond what we could put in that room if we wanted to. So it's not a people number, it's a distance number that's dictated
exactly.
space. That's all.
Yeah, they're still
Right.
keeping the social distance aspect, but you know, we've never really had more than 3 or 4 or 5 at most.
Exactly.
The certain laws that we had, like the ag event and the Airbnb, that did drive in a lot more people because it affected more people. But for the most part, when you're talking about campsites, people aren't coming per se.
Right.
Yeah, I have no objections on doing it. I'm just saying that the limitation is really on 6 feet, and we typically only get 3, maybe 5, you know, and 18 spaces are available, so we can still do it.
Do we want to set a day to start it? Get a date, a potential day while we're talking about this?
What were we doing? First and third Thursdays? Is that what it was originally?
I think so.
The first and third Thursday, yes, because the fourth Thursday is the zoning.
CBA.
Zoning, yeah.
So what are you trying to propose, Dean?
Well, I would propose that we start maybe just doing, let's say, the third Thursday, just to get it going. So we could start it next week if you want. I mean, I think we have to give notice, right? So maybe we just start it next
Yeah.
month.
In June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start again third Thursday in June and see how it goes.
What time? 7, 6:30?
Oh, 6:30 is fine by me.
Okay, good.
Live.
Live, yeah.
So if you propose the third Thursday, is that with audience participation limited? or-
Yes.
Well, it's got to be limited, but again, you know, if it becomes down to that the audience is full, then, you know, maybe we'll have a waiting area outside where people can take turns coming in to speak if they have to speak about a certain topic or whatever. Typically, again, you know, nobody really comes unless it's a topic. They usually speak and then they leave if there's something, you know, pressing.
Okay, we'll go for that on consensus. Okay, everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, approve the pollinator pathway, Witten.
So I was really hoping there would be a presentation so you all knew what this was.
Do you want to
The
go ahead?
CAC is working on a program. It's something called the Pollinator Pathway. It's all throughout the Northeast. So I'm going to give my best overview where they're encouraging people to, especially in the spring, like not mow their lawns in the month of May, which makes my lawn ugly, but I have a much easier month of May right now. And planting pollinator gardens, and it helps bees, it helps birds, it helps butterflies. All of these are populations that have been plummeting over the last few years. And so I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but say a bee can travel up to 500 feet before it needs to stop at another flower to pollinate. They're trying to create people who and towns that register themselves to plant pollinator gardens so that these insects have a whole pathway throughout our area to travel where they would always be fed, basically. And so I had come up with the idea, and I think I had sent it in an email, that maybe the CAC and the Friendship Garden Club can get together and plant a pollinator garden on the old Masonic Hall lot, which we've not been doing anything with. Of course, we are now going to do something with that lot tonight. But I would still like to pass the resolution just to approve it so that maybe later in the summer, or they can start planning right now, and do this again next year, because this is a yearly thing. And I just wanted to sort of officially give them permission to garden there, so that if anybody comes up to them and says, hey, what are you doing here? They'd have something to fall back on.
I would make a suggestion in your motion before you even
Mhm.
propose it. Instead of limiting only to the Masonic Hall property, say town property, they may want to put something at Friends Park around the flagpole.
Well,
Right.
certainly they have been talking with Dan Harkenrider about doing things at both of the parks.
Yeah, there or out here on the baseball field area or the nature trail. I don't know, but this way, leave it open and, you guys pick from a committee standpoint what area you prefer to use, because you may improve from year to year.
Okay.
My only question with this would be, and I guess maybe because we didn't see the presentation on it, I understand the need for pollination. With like areas like by the baseball field or anywhere else, this would in potentially, we'll say potentially because we're, until we see what it does, encourage more bees around, and anyone that might be allergic to bees or on certain areas. Would that, do you know any information regarding that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding out more as we go through this too. I've seen a couple of presentations on it. It's funny, there's something in our area in the Northeast, there's something like 28 different species of bees, and only 2 of them are the stinging kind. I assume it would, and I would assume that they're not going to plant these gardens along like the fences of the baseball field. But, maybe there's that little garden between the schoolhouse and the Masonic Hall they can plant there, maybe out on the lawn of the town hall, like Ray said, or if they can plant a pollinator garden out near the nature trail, things like that. I think we can make it so that, discuss with them so that they're aware, let's not bring bees around kids.
That's my only concern.
Yeah.
I was going to say, why don't we do it on the 5-acre parcel where our geothermal wells are, because that property is not used at all. We don't have to worry about kids. We don't have to worry about anything, because it's really an unused parcel as well. And this way it doesn't interfere with anything. I mean, only for the fact that now they're going to use that parcel and they're going to probably use it all summer. So there's not going to be any planting season for that parcel.
Yeah. And I was going to pass the resolution just to give them permission for the future as well, because I knew this summer might be shot for them there. But if we want to say located on town property, I'm happy to do that.
And I would have a big concern, without defining it more, about using the park and any kind of the park. Because every year we've got somebody rushing to the hospital because they got bitten by a bee and they're allergic, etc. So where you have a lot of public activities, I would be a little concerned without talking about it some more. So
Yeah, I don't think they would ever plant anything in a park without talking to Dan Harkenrider.
Right.
I know Maya's been the one leading on that, and she's had plenty of conversations with Dan. I think right now they're discussing, and don't hold me to this, but I think they're discussing like on the far side of the pond at Fran Mark. So none of the summer camp kids really go over there.
Was it like flowers and stuff like that?
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
so it kind of gives a little
I've been
bit
trying to learn, so I'm doing it myself. There's all sorts of different plants and flowers that are encouraging to pollinators. Sunflowers, nasturtium, all sorts of things, milkweed, those kinds of things for butterflies. And it gives them a habitat where they can feed themselves, feed babies, and increase the population, which is declining at scary rates right now.
Well, that's because of the bacteria parasite that's been killing them.
Yeah. And I'm getting a text message to mention native plants as well. Native plants, non-invasive. See, I'm not the messenger for this. I just passed the resolutions.
So I would say that they could use it on town property with the prior authority approval. So if it's the rec park, it should be with Dan. If it's the town property, it should be with the supervisor and just do it that way.
Okay. All right, so I make a motion, be it resolved that the town board approves the pollinator pathway project organized by the CAC with the assistance of the Friendship Garden Club to create habitats that are friendly to pollinators located on town property with prior department approval.
Second.
Okay.
Further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next one's on the computer security policy. I'm working with our IT person, Fred Sequina, to develop the town's computer policy. We received a generic policy from NYMER to use as a starting point, and it strongly urges us to require our employees to change their passwords monthly on their computers. This is a very effective way to reduce fraud, scams, and hacking. With this approval, Fred and I can finish writing this portion of the policy. So that's the general background. There's some other pieces of it, but if I can't get agreement on this, then I got to figure out how we're going to solve it the other and in any other way. So that was the purpose of that. And then there's a motion here that we agree to use the monthly change of passwords. So does anybody have any discussion, comments, or something before we move on to the motion?
I mean, most of the companies that I have typically do 90 days. I mean, so I don't know how burdensome the password, problem would be to go monthly. I also have an issue because it usually dictates how many characters, and you can't use like the last 10 passwords again. So my question would be, is it going to be too onerous to have it monthly, number one, and number two, what would be the policy as to the number of characters and how many times you could use that password in once in 10, once in 20?
It's typically what Fred has said, that it's being done in Millbrook, okay, already. They do it monthly. In other places, at IBM, it was monthly when I was there, and that's years ago. And what people have done is essentially picked a word, numbers, special characters that meet the criteria, and they change just one or two things every month in that thing. So, and they repeat it after about a year or a year and a half worth, so you can go and you had 21, now you make it 23 and 28 or 48, and just all the rest of it stays the same. And
No, I understand all that, and I work in a very regulated field, and I'm both regulated by, the financial industry as well as the insurance industry, and so we're only doing 90 days, and their requirements are simple: one upper character, one lower character, and at least one number and one ampersand. And then it usually has to be at least 7 to 14 characters. I understand all that. I just wanted to know what you were thinking about as far as a policy, and if 30 days was maybe too short, and maybe 90 days would be easier.
with all the problems coming up with scams and frauds and hacking, we got to change them. Okay. Some have not been changed in years in the town. Okay. So we got to go through somehow. And I think 30 days is what is recommended by the insurance company. And we do have insurance right now that covers it for ransomware and all that kind of stuff. And they may come out as part of the condition to be in the plan to require monthly changes. They haven't required it yet, but it's getting that way. In fact, AXA Insurance Company used to have insurance plans for ransomware. They stopped paying ransoms. They'll pay it to fix your system, but they won't pay you the money to get you out of the ransom.
No, that's why they want you to have your systems backed up.
So why don't we, right now they're not mandating it to 30 days. Why don't we go somewhere in the middle at 60? And if it changes and they mandate it, then we can always change it. I mean,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to have this discussion before we went through writing this whole thing and then found out, oh, we got to change everything.
I mean, there's also programs where, on my computer, I have a different password for every website I visit, and I have no idea what those passwords are. It's something that's automatically generated by my computer, and I only need one password.
Yeah,
so that
the system, yeah.
Yeah, and it always just automatically does them for me.
We can do that here, but it essentially costs money per computer per person. And, it's extra money to the budget. and you buy a year subscription, just like you have for yourself. And, it's probably $25 or $50. I'm just guessing a number. I don't have anything at my fingertip. But, this way, by having the people change it, we don't incur that cost. I mean, not that we can't pay it if it's necessary, because one hit is going to wipe you out.
Red, do you want me to add anything to this?
If you want, yeah.
What the town of Washington did, they wanted to immediately after the ransomware incident over there, they wanted to follow NYMER's insurance recommendations as close to the letter as possible. So they said, let's change passwords once a month. It was difficult for staff for, I'd say, about 90 days before each one of the staff members had worked out a little system on how they change their passwords. No one ever calls me to help with password resets. They did for the first 60 to 90 days, and then all those calls disappeared. And then I talked to the employees and staff at the town of Washington, and I asked each one of them how they were recording their passwords. And almost all of them were maintaining a piece of paper that they kept locked in their desk drawer, and they would just put the password. And then the way I set up the system over there, and it's variable and we can change, there's a lot of things that we can change, is that we would allow passwords to be reused after 1 year. And then with the complexity requirements, we want a minimum of 8 characters. And we just use Microsoft's definition of a complex password, which is basically meets what Dean had said, where it's a certain number of minimum characters, upper and lowercase letters, a number, and some special character. And that usually meets. And once the staff figure out how to create a password that will pass muster with the system, because they'll get to keep trying on their PC until it takes and it says your password was reset. At that moment, they know that that particular combination works, and they start imagining what's my next combination going to be. And over a short period of time, it becomes a kind of a non-issue. And it greatly increases your security, because I, as the person with the administrator passwords everywhere, will immediately change that every 30 days like clockwork. And what you gain from that is that a hacker that brute forces or steals a password and thinks they have a way into your system, they don't know this, but they only have an exact 30-day window to accomplish anything before they're going to get locked out by the password change. And that giving them no more than 30 days to cause trouble really limits the problems that you might have. That's it.
So what do we see?
Along with what Chris said, I think 60 days would be fine. But I'm just encouraging the more protective, because I'm the IT.
Well, I'm just looking out for the employees, but that's either way is fine by me. I'm just saying that, I work for, I represent Fortune 100 companies, and all of them are at 90 days right now. So, and actually one of them, which happens to be Liberty Mutual, went to a 21 character password, but now they give me 6 months.
That's a very complex password, very hard to
Big
break.
password.
It
That's
takes
a lot
30
to remember.
26 characters, takes about 30 days to break into.
Right.
Would take me about 30 days to get on my computer too with 20.
Yeah.
Dean, do you sell NYMER insurance to customers?
No.
No. Ah, okay.
So you got a choice. Pick a number.
Oh, I'm fine with whatever you do, but that's, I was just bringing it up as a,
Yeah, I think,
if NYMER's suggesting 30 days,
Yeah.
try 30 days, go for
They're
it, whatever.
suggesting 30 days, but I think they're just saying, change your passwords regularly. We recommend 30 days, and then they don't say much more.
Yeah.
So they're leaving it. You guys can pick what you think is most appropriate.
Yeah, I don't want to, not take their advice and then have them turn around and use it against us. So if they're suggesting 30 days, I would do 30 days.
I am on board with that.
okay, thank you, Fred.
Yep.
I make a motion then to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the monthly change of logon computer passwords for town-owned electronic devices, including but not limited to computers, laptop, tablets, and audiovisual equipment. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call. Oberly, aye. Cunningham.
Aye.
Giuliano.
Aye.
Dean.
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next one is, there's a 2020 New York State Building and Energy Codes that we got to adopt, or we're going to be in big trouble with the state. They come out every year or every 2 years. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves adopting the latest New York State Uniform Building Code update and New York State Energy Code update dated May 12th, 2020. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Any discussion? Okay, a roll call. Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. Next one is our pending.
You muted yourself somehow, Ray.
I think he's leaning on the space bar, which will mute you immediately if you're unmuted. He's hitting the space bar. He's still muted.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go. Wait, no, we couldn't hear you, Ray.
He's going for training. Many times it's local in Poughkeepsie, and all this time now it's out in Syracuse. So I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves Municipal Code Enforcement Inspector John Fenton attending the New York State AFC Codes Training in Syracuse, New York, July 14, 15, 2021 at a cost not to exceed $750 plus travel at 56 cents a mile. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Any further discussion? Roll call. Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Michael, Dean,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay. The next one's for the building inspector. It's the same situation, different numbers. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves building inspector Mike Cosenza attending the New York State AFC Codes Training in Syracuse, July 14 and 15, 2021 at a cost not to exceed $750. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fire code training,
It's both.
right? I mean, is he getting some of the costs picked up by Pleasant Valley?
His fire department's picking up some of the costs of transportation and the extra days that he'd have to stay. Roll call vote, Oberly, I, Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next one is a renewal of firewall security. This is a 3-year renewal. It's cheaper and we don't have to keep reminding ourselves to do it yearly. I make a wrong one. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the 3-year renewal of firewall security software with CB Technology for $850. Is there a second?
Dean Michael second.
Further discussion? Roll call, Oberly, I, Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Mike, Dean,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, the next one is Colarusso is wants to use the vacant land for the town where the Masonic Lodge used to be in Schultzville as a storage area so that they could park their equipment there while they're rebuilding the bridge. They're also talking about the firehouse. They need pieces of equipment on both sides of the bridge because the bridge is disappearing, so they can't drive across it or anything. I worked with them and with our attorney on a agreement with them. They're in agreement with it. They're going to send it back and all, but that's the property. It has no property address, such and such a street, but that's okay. So I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the agreement between A. Colarusso and Son Incorporated and Town of Clinton to use the old Masonic Hall vacant property parcel number 6468-00-410472 as a contractor storage area from May 1st to December 31st, 2021 for equipment for the duration of the Fiddler's Bridge Road Bridge replacement for a fee of $500 and authorizes and empowers and directs the supervisor to sign the contract. Is there a second?
Dean Michael second.
Any further discussion?
So that $500 is just a one-shot $500 for the storage?
Yeah. Okay, roll call, Oberly, I, Cunningham.
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next one is 284 agreement.
Sorry, unmuting. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number of 2021, the agreement to spend highway funds.
Is there a second?
Giuliano second on that one.
Further discussion? Okay, roll call, Oberly, I, Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. The next one is the approval of the CCA agreement, which we worked a long time to get a lot of provisions cleaned up in it. It's a 47-page document. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the electricity supply agreement dated 4/28/21 between the supplier, Jewel Assets Incorporated, and the town of Clinton, and authorizes and empowers and directs the supervisor to sign the contract. Is there a second?
Dean Michael second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, Oberly, I, Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean.
You could just say Michael. I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay, and then last one is Witten.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now we go into resignations and appointments. First one is Giuliano.
Yep. All right. So we're making a change from the highway clerk to secretary of highway superintendent. I did change that on our sheet. We showed clerk of the highway superintendent to secretary of highway superintendent. So I make a motion to approve the creation of the position secretary to the highway superintendent effective May 10th, 2021.
Witten, second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call vote, Oberly, nay. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean.
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay. The next one is to make, I make a motion to accept the resignation of Melissa Karchmer from the position of clerk of highway effective May 8th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Witten, second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, Oberly, aye. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay.
Now, at this time, Carol Mackin's going to relay the comments from the Highway Superintendent, Martin.
So Highway Superintendent Martin emailed me and asked me on his behalf to appoint Melissa Karchmer to the position of Secretary to the Highway Superintendent effective Monday, May 10th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Giuliano.
So I make a motion to approve that Melissa Karchmer, secretary to the highway superintendent, be paid for 22 hours per week at $18.36 per hour effective May 10th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Dean Michael,
Witten,
second.
Any discussion?
And I just want to be clear that this position is the same hours and same pay
Right.
as what her other position was. So it's just kind of a lateral
Okay.
horizontal move.
Roll call vote, Oberly, nay. Cunningham,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Witten,
aye.
motion carried. The next one is self-explanatory. I make a motion to approve the leave of absence of Samantha Campbell from the position of clerk from May 29th to September 7th, 2021. She has been appointed head lifeguard for 40 hours per week for summer and will return to the clerk position at that time. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Discussion? Okay, roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Dean.
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Approval of warrants.
Make a motion, be it resolved, the town board approves the May 11th, 2021 general fund warrant voucher number 175 through 235, totaling $59,813.85. And the May 11th, 2021 highway fund warrant vouchers number 93 through 111, totaling $56,652.56. Is there a second?
Giuliano, second.
Any further discussion? Roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Motion to move funds. I make a motion to move the following, to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the resolution of 2021, a resolution to move funds at the May 11th, 2021 meeting. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Further discussion? Roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Now we approve lots of the past temporary or interim reports for supervisor. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the final supervisor's reports for December 2020 and January through April 2021. Is there a second?
D. Michael second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Dean.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Carried. Any other items before the board?
Yeah, I just want to bring up again the email that I sent out for violations, and I want to bring up another thing that happened in the planning board. So, as you can see, I forwarded to everybody because not everybody was included in the original email. A suggested resolution that Shane had worked on as far as some fees, and the idea would be that that the first fine would be set at $1,000 and then move up from there, and then each month it would be, or each week it would be calculated at another fine. But I want to assure people in the town that, you know, we're not looking for a gotcha type of law. We're just trying to make it have enough teeth where there have been some incidents in the town where people who could absorb the fee kept on violating the law because they were making much more than what the fine was, and so it was a cost of doing business. And so, looking at the generation of what some of these events can actually produce, I wanted to make sure that we had a fee that was somewhat stiff, but at the same time, not something that would kill somebody. So I didn't know if anybody had a chance to look at it, if they had any comments.
I'm fine with it.
Just a comment that you are talking about fines, not fees.
Right, fine, sorry.
I want to be very clear on that. The other thing is, you gotta, this is a local law change, so we gotta, the whole ritual of a local law thing, you gotta write it up and put it all together so we can public hearing and do everything else with it.
Well, that's why the draft was made and circulated to all of you to see if you're okay with it, then we'll proceed next month with that.
I'll admit
Yeah,
I haven't
mean-
had a chance to read it yet, but I agree with the spirit behind it. So I'll look through it before the next meeting. Certainly read it.
Then another thing came up at the last planning board meeting. There was 2 applications for the Airbnb, and one happened to be a property where the owner, it seems like, has no intent in living in the property and is renting out both the main house and then created an apartment in a shed that 20 years ago had some type of a special use, but hadn't been renewed. So technically it's illegal, but, you know, so we have situations where, did we really want to allow for multiple buildings on a property to be used? You know, so kind of should think about some of that.
Well, that's what's, I think, if I remember right, included in the current law.
Well, some of the law is a little gray when it comes to, is that considered 2 applications or 1 application? So the planning board had some question about that as well.
I mean, my thinking on this, and I was also talking to Arlene about that the other day, is the question is, one, to have 2 independent homes or 2 or an extra apartment on the property has to meet the current zoning laws allowed and regulations. So, I mean, if there's 2 houses on the property or 2 separate distinct places, that would have to meet the minimum. If it's AR3 would be, you know, each part would have to have 6 acres for 2, or, I mean, that's my mindset, or AR5 to
Well,
be
that's
able
what
to
the
have.
accessory dwelling requirements are.
Exactly. because that's basically what it is. It's becoming the main house and accessory dwelling as a rental. My mindset is it'd be two separate applications for review on that. Plus you've got two safety inspections that would have to be done. I mean, this is inherently going to become possible, when with bigger pieces of property where people that currently, have that running multiple out of one house. Definitely got to address it. And
Well, I
there's
mean,
quite a
I
few.
mentioned it for us to think about, and I know that Michael had worked on the law. So, I was looking for your input, Michael, as to,
Yeah, I just,
had you thought about that, and what should we do?
this is a new information to me, so I'm sort of processing it as you're talking. Well, first of all, the shed isn't is it considered a dwelling right now? So if it's not considered a dwelling, I wouldn't think that anybody could rent it out as a short-term rental.
Well, there's multiple problems with this particular property, and I don't want to go into all the details, but apparently at one point in time, the original property owner, because this property sold 2 years ago, but the original property owner, like 10, 20 years ago, had a special use for their parents to live in that shed garage per se. And so like it's half garage and then half was converted into an apartment. But when the person bought the property, from all the things that I saw, that particular property wasn't even advertised as having that apartment. So again, I don't want to go too deep in particular for one particular property, but talking in general as to how to deal with these type of situations.
I mean, my thought would follow, I think Chris's, if you need to get a separate permit and separate approval to have an accessory dwelling, then you should get a separate permit for the Airbnb.
Right, because the law is not clear with that. So, the planning board thought we should update it to make it more clear.
Okay. Jeff raised his hand if we're interested.
I realize that it's not open to public comment, but there is one part of the law that might address that. I just pulled it up quick, and it's letter D 3. Non-hosted short-term rental special use permits are limited to 2 per legal owners, regardless of the number of properties owned. So that applies to non-hosted only. So that creates a limitation for somebody who's trying to do multiple.
And would show that they need to get 2 separate permits because they're limited to 2, which should show that they need to get separate permits for each one they're running. In my opinion.
Yeah, but does that mean that they can't hold more than 2?
Yes, that does mean that.
Right. So somebody couldn't buy up 4 properties and turn them all into short-term rentals.
That was precisely what we were trying to avoid, is large companies coming in and buying multiple properties and basically running a spread out hotel.
Does that help with what the planning board was questioning? No, because it's still not clear as to whether it's 2 applications or 1. I'm just saying that we may need to modify it to say that each rental unit needs to have its own
dwelling
application, each dwelling unit.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Each one should have it because each one has to have a fire inspection, a building inspection, et cetera, et cetera. We don't inspect just the one building and assume the other one's good. So I think that's true. And you might find other comments from the planning board relevant to this so that we can incorporate them all in one shot rather than doing 3 or 4 zoning amendments to this law, over the next 2-3 months as we start really learning about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll bring it up next month to the planning board if they have any other, additional comments as to some changes. One of the other comments from the discussion from last week's planning board was that there hasn't been a lot of applications, so we do need to maybe send out a mailing.
Yeah, and currently John Fenton has sample letters that were sent to him, and we've all looked it over, and we're supposed to have a Zoom meeting whenever he can schedule it to go over those sample letters so we can start mailing those out.
On those sample letters, have you had the attorney take a peek at them?
It was definitely something that was in an email, so I'll send them to Shane. I don't know that John has, so I'll send them to Shane.
I just, there may be some quirky word in there that could cause us grief.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting to see the final letter that he wanted to send, not the sample,
Oh,
and then send that to.
that's good. That's good. I didn't
Yeah.
realize what stage we were at.
Yeah, I haven't seen a final letter of ours. I've just seen the samples that we're going to base ours off of. So,
Okay. Okay, we done?
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion that the town board adjourns the meeting. Is there a
Dean Michael,
second?
second.
Roll call, Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
aye.
Dean,
Aye.
Cunningham,
I
motion